we've planted all these seeds, especially toward the end of season one, of a potential relationship there. And I just adore Danielle Pinnock, and I think it would be so fun to have a little budding love story in season two of Ghost. So I'm very interested to see what the writers have in store for that relationship.
What's up, everyone? Tania here with PopCulture.com, and I'm so happy to welcome actor, writer, comedian, and one of the stars of CBS's Ghost, now streaming on Paramount Plus. Richie Moriarty is here with us. Richie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course, and there's so much to talk about. First of all, congratulations on that epic performance at the Paramount Upfront. You guys were performing at Carnegie Hall. What was that like? Like, I got to watch it with the rest of the other CBS employees and stuff, but it was very fun. And I feel like there was so much energy on stage from you guys. Like, you brought it to the show. So what was that like?
It was truly insane. I mean, it was like when we originally heard about the concept, the whole cast was kind of like, what are you talking about? Like, this sounds insane, because none of us are singers. We're certainly not dancers.
Right.
But it was as we were presented with the concept, and they had this incredible team write this incredible song and amazing, funny, great lyrics. So once we sort of were told fully what the deal was, we were like, oh, this is going to be so fun. Like, when else would we get an opportunity to be on stage at Carnegie Hall singing and dancing? I mean, it was a real dream come true, honestly. And I don't think it hit a lot of us until we were really on stage rehearsing and kind of looking out over Carnegie Hall. And we were like, okay, this is something, this is like a real life moment. So it was great. It was so fun.
Yeah, that's so great. And you say you guys were not singers and dancers, but you guys really hit the beats. Even the song is so catchy. It's so good. I know that already all the fans are listening to it all the time on Spotify. So, do we think we're going to get a musical episode of Ghosts on the horizon? Is there one that, you guys are capable of singing and dancing. We've seen Danielle's TikToks. You guys can dance. So
I honestly do think we'll see it. I have no insider information. Mm-hmm. But it does feel like it's so ripe for it. We have all expressed to Joe Port and Joe Wiseman, the showrunners, hey, we would be totally game to do something like this. So I hope that they can find a nice in and a nice kind of story to tell through music, because I think we would all be totally game.
Yeah, because there's so many other ghosts, I think, in the house and on the grounds. Just imagine finding a piano, and then there's a piano playing guy in the house. I don't know.
Sure. Why not? Yeah. And you got the British ghosts in the shed out back. They come in with their own little musical number. I mean, the cholera pit, think of what a great song you could write for them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a lot of material there. I think it'd be very fun.
Yeah, for sure. And now with season one under wraps and filming about to begin in Montreal this, summer for season two, what is the biggest question that you want answered for Pete?
Oh man, I think the biggest question that I want answered for him is what's going on with he and Alberta. Mm-hmm. I think we've planted all these seeds, especially toward the end of season one, of a potential relationship there. And I just adore Danielle Pinnock, and I think it would be so fun to have a little budding love story in season two of Ghost. So I'm very interested to see what the writers have in store for that relationship.
Mm-hmm. And I feel he has come out of his shell a little bit more, especially after his fake relationship with Nancy. And so, I do think there is something there for him to be a little bit more bold. So what do you think right now is holding him back from expressing his feelings for her? And do you think that's actually preventing him from being sucked off?
Yeah. So, there's no other way to say it, right?
Right. There's no other.
I think, this is all still very new to Pete, right? Pete was married forever, and even in his afterlife considered himself a married man, was very much still committed to his wife. And I think getting that kind of permission from her and seeing that she has moved on with her life, he's kind of okay, it's time for me to move on with my afterlife. But that's easier said than done, right? It's a big kind of character switch for him to be okay, what does this mean going forward? How do I date? He hasn't dated in, I don't know, how many years total, being living and dead, but it's been a very long time since Pete's been on the market. So I think he's still trying to get comfortable with that and kind of, come into his own and figure out, who am I when I am dating or exploring a new love interest?
Yeah. And, I feel like even with, Nancy kind of pushing him to like, realize more of himself, we did learn and sort of see that Pete is a little bit of a pushover and he kind of overcame that. So where do you hope to see him in season 2 after that revelation, especially just as his own person, like being like a character moving forward through himself?
Yeah. I hope Pete can get more bold and like really stand up for himself and ask for what he wants.
Hmm.
And yeah, just be bolder all around. I mean, be bold in that relationship with Alberta, like really take stock of what he wants and go for it. I think there's so much humor in situations where you have a character who's like overly confident and doesn't deserve to be really. And I think seeing Pete gain more confidence in a world where like he is still a bit like awkward and nerdy, it
Yeah.
would be, it's ripe for great situations. So yeah, I look forward to seeing what's in store for him.
And the episode "Atta Girl" was so much fun. We did learn that Alberta had another power, and I'm wondering, we've never seen Pete's powers, and I'm wondering, do you have a feeling like, do you know what it is? Do you want to? Like, is there something that you want to see come out from him? Like,
Well, so they did write an episode in season 1 that revealed my power.
oh,
But I think there was some logic stuff that ended up being brought up in the final stages of the draft of that episode, and it ended up being scrapped. And I
okay.
don't know if that will come back as the same power that was kind of revealed to us in an original draft.
Mhm.
But I'm dying to find out what his power is. I think there are a lot of fun options, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can find and what they come up with. I'm excited about that.
I think there's like there's so much to explore with like all the characters, especially like yours. I feel like we're still just kind of scratching the surface of figuring out who Pete is and what he was
Totally.
like in his living life. Like, it's so different. It's gonna be so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited to like continue to like see this guy grow and become more three-dimensional as well. So it's exciting.
Very. And Pete's wife was such a good episode. Again, I was watching it last night and I say to myself, I'm never gonna cry because I already know what's gonna happen, but I
I
end
know.
up crying still. It's so good. And it's such a standout episode. I know the fans love it. They go back to this one a lot, and I've seen it on the forums and on the threads and stuff. So what is it about, the writing? It's so pure and sweet, but what do you think makes this episode a favorite among audiences?
Well, Pete is unique amongst the ghosts in that he has living family still. I'm sure Trevor's character, Asher's character, Trevor, also has some living relatives, but we haven't dipped into that too much.
Mhm.
And I think, just to see so many people consider, what happens to my family when they're gone. And I think providing this opportunity to have someone who has passed witness their family moving forward and generationally moving forward, and seeing somebody who's passed get to meet their grandkids. I mean, I have so many, my wife lost her mom before we had kids, and it's always this like really intense hope that or desire for her mom to experience the joy of our children,
Yeah.
and not having that be able to happen is heartbreaking. So to be able to have a moment like that where Pete is seeing his grandson for the first time and meeting him as much as he can, in the position he's in. But I think that is just like, that is a universal thing, right? We've all lost loved ones. We all kind of hope that someone is there watching us and experiencing our life even after they pass. So I think that's what really makes that episode so magical. And honestly, Trent O'Donnell, who directed it, Kira Kalush, who wrote it, the writing was there, the direction was on point, especially with that moment when he meets his grandson. I mean, the way he manipulates the camera and kind of pushes in on Pete, and the music that they added. I mean, like, they did such a masterful job with it. And it's just like, I feel so proud of that episode for so many reasons. But I'm so glad the fans have enjoyed it as well, because it was really so fun to do, and then so fun to watch and see it all put together at the end.
It's such a well-developed episode, because like even like the little stories in the background with like Sasapis and Thor watching the show,
So funny.
so funny. And then Trevor
Yeah.
thinks he's like a dilf and stuff, so like that's like, the way they kind of rounded it out, it just makes sense. It's so beautifully done. And that's the thing too. The writing on the show is so refreshingly witty and sharp. And I love the lines. Like, I think, one of my favorite lines is, "We trusted you, man, and you stole our money." Such a good line.
I mean, Sheila Carrasco, that line is honestly my favorite from the whole first season. It was such a line that was added. It wasn't in the original script. And I believe one of our writers, oh my gosh, I'm going to forget who it was. I don't remember, but there was like a writer's pitch on set, and she delivered it. Her delivery is so funny. Mm-hmm. It's so flower. That is like one of the funniest moments to me. She cracks me up all the time on set, but like that was such a winning moment for her.
Yeah, it's so good. And like, that's the thing, like, you guys are so funny. Like your chemistry is so good. And that's the thing too. I remember Asher had said that he's never done a comedy before, but he's so funny too. Like, everyone is just so funny. So like, I feel like the underestimation of like not being funny, like everyone's so good on this show, and like you guys just kind of mix and match. And then there's those nice combos where sometimes you'll see like you interacting with Flower where we rarely see it, and then you guys have great chemistry and you're so funny together and hilarious. And then there's like Thor and like Sass, and it's like it's very nice to see the different combos, because like with such an ensemble cast, and then you put in those rare little pieces of everyone. I love it. I know that everyone loves it.
It's honestly one of the joys of the show is that like every scene with the different permutations of the cast in a room together, different things happen. Yeah. And it's also one of the really exciting reasons that, we get to make more of this is, I was talking to the Joes recently about like, Brandon and I didn't really have a lot of scenes together. Like, there weren't a lot of Pete Isaac scenes. There maybe was one very short one in season 1, but I'm like, that's a relationship that I'm like, great, let's like dive into that more. And that can be said about so many different characters. So it's going to be so exciting to continue to explore these characters and their relationships together, because there's so much to mine and there's so much that's kind of been left on the table. So really excited to see more of that.
Yeah, the dynamics will be so much fun to like see them play out. But what is it you think about the writing on this show that sets it apart from the other comedies right now? Because you guys are the #1 show on television. You're hitting like, the highs all the time with ratings, and I think you've averaged 8.4 million viewers from the season.
Crazy.
It's crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. I think honestly, it's the writers have really found this incredible balance between comedy and finding those sweet moments, like we talked about in Pete's Wife. I mean, that is a very tricky balance to strike. And I think it can come off as mawkish or just like overly sentimental if not handled correctly. But they really do a masterful job. I mean, in that Pete's Wife episode, I cry too when I watch it, and I obviously know exactly what's going to happen, but it brings me to tears. And also there's like a moment later, Devin's character Thorfinn has this moment of like Ragnarok. He hears the word Ragnarok and loses his mind. And it always cracks me up. I mean, like, so to go from like an emotional high to like a comedic high so quickly, it's just difficult. And they've really handled it incredibly well. It's been really cool to see come together. They've done an awesome job.
It's amazing. And, looking back at season 1, what are some of your favorite moments or takeaways from, your character and even the entire show as a whole?
Yeah, I mean, I love, the Pete's Wife episode was kind of the beginning of my character feeling more 3-dimensional to me, right? Where you got to see him be angry and, go through that like emotional moment of reunification with his family. And that to me was like, oh, okay, I know who this person is now in a way that I don't feel like I did before. And it really wasn't until I got to like actually shoot that episode that I felt more comfortable as Pete. So that to me, was a real kind of turning point and opened me up to a lot of different fun exploratory moments later in the season, especially with Betsy Sidaro with Nancy from the Cholera Pit. Mm-hmm. Just being able to like scream at her and tap into that like angry Pete side, and she is just like so wonderful. I think like honestly one of the biggest takeaways from the season is we just really do have this embarrassment of riches with our cast. Like, I just adore the people we're making this show with. We feel so lucky. We say it all the time, but like, we're friends, and it's just been a real joy to make this show. And we get the gift of all these incredible guest stars coming in who we get to bounce off of and, witness their, expertise and talent and elevate the show. So it's just been, I mean, we all feel so lucky. What a joy to make this thing.
Yeah. And, you talk about the friendship dynamic. You guys are so good together. I know you guys get along, and maybe you know where I'm going with this, but why is Brandon a target for your pranks? Like, it's so funny. Like, he's so great with them. I think he's like, okay with it. But like, I know that, I'm worried. Are you actually worried about his wrath? Because he does have some ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. I am worried now. This started, I forget why it started. I think the genesis of it was that I went into his like little tent where we like kind of hang out in between scenes. I went in at one point and like totally by accident, like just scared him. Like he wasn't expecting to come in, but he scared pretty easily.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I really gave you a shock and I don't really understand why. And then I was just like, well, let me see if I can recreate this like one time. And I'll like, just as like an inside joke, like, hey, I come in and I scare you. And then we started noticing that like every time I did it, he would say the same exact thing every time. He says, oh my God, twice. That's what he says every single time he's scared. And so then it became like, well, let's really test this. Let's see if you really are going to say that every single time you're scared. And then Asher got in on it. He would be recording video from different angles. Like I'd be like, hey, I'm going to scare him on it. You record, give me 30 seconds, but you start rolling on him surreptitiously. So, it just snowballed. But I am scared now because it has gotten to the point where like every press appearance Brandon has, they're like, so what's Richie's deal? Why is he scaring you this much? So I'm a little concerned as to what I'm going to be met with in season 2, but hey, we'll see.
You have to sleep. You have to like nap with like one eye open, I guess.
I will. I definitely
we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
but yeah, I kind of figured that Asher was an enabler.
Yeah, he definitely was. Asher was an enabler on more than one occasion. He found it very funny, as did the whole cast. I mean, I'd scare him and he'd scream, and then everyone who was close to us on set would be like, he got him again. He got him again. And then I'd be like showing everybody the videos. It became a thing. Poor Brandon. I feel terrible. I've ruined his life.
Well, the thing is, you guys also have a lot of things going on for the fans this summer. The Summer of Ghosts just kicked off. So what can you tell us about it? And like, you guys are going to be at Comic-Con. Is that what I was reading in the press release?
Yeah, we will. We're going to be at Comic-Con this year, and they're going to have Pete's Friend Zone at Comic-Con. So there's going to be some sort of like branded, like, step on into Pete's Friend Zone and meet the cast of Ghosts. But yeah, we're super excited. I mean, the marketing that CBS has put into this show has been incredible. They have this amazing team of people that are really coming up with exciting and interesting ways of marketing the show. And they have not taken their foot off the gas. I mean, like since this show aired, they have been pushing it so hard. And again, I think like they're seeing the fruits of their labors pay off, like people are finding and loving the show in bigger and bigger numbers. So it's so exciting that this is going to continue and kind of bridge between season 1 and season 2. And we have like these events that'll be all over the country. That'll be like kind of ghost branded events. So yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how that all plays out, especially while we're filming season 2, Yeah,
it's going to be so much fun. I know there's plenty of shenanigans abound for you guys when season 2 returns this fall. But, Richie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. Guys, for more with Richie and Ghost, which is now streaming on Paramount Plus, keep it locked to popculture.com for the latest.